The unseen threat. The Correxian Empire stretched across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy, their towering cities of crystal and light visible from light years away. For 8 centuries, they had ruled unchallenged, their defensive network of automated sentinels and quantum-locked barriers considered impenetrable by every species in known space. The Correxians themselves, tall, sleek beings with iridescent skin that shifted colors with their moods, had grown complacent in their superiority, treating the newer spacefaring races as little more than curiosities. Humanity was the newest arrival to the galactic stage, having achieved faster-than-light travel barely 50 years ago. The Correxians found humans particularly amusing, fragile, short-lived creatures from a backwater planet that had somehow managed to stumble into interstellar society. When the human ambassadors spoke at galactic council meetings, the Correxian representatives would shift to a condescending shade of violet, their version of barely contained laughter. Commander Maya Chen of the United Earth Fleet had become accustomed to that particular shade of violet. Standing before the Correxian High Command in their orbital citadel above Carex Prime, she saw it ripple across their skin as she delivered her report. "We have documented evidence of unknown vessels breaching the territorial boundaries of 7 independent systems," Maya said, her voice steady despite her rising frustration. "All evidence points to Correxian involvement." First Overseer Xerax, the most senior Correxian present, flashed a dismissive pattern of deep violet across his torso. "Commander Chen, your accusations are as primitive as your scanning technology. No vessel can penetrate our borders undetected, much less depart again. The very suggestion is absurd." Maya kept her composure, a skill she had mastered over years of diplomatic missions. At 42, she had spent more than half her life in space, gradually rising through the ranks of the United Earth Fleet, despite the constant underestimation from other species. "The evidence has been verified by 3 independent sources," she persisted, gesturing to the holographic display hovering between them. "These incursions correlate with unexplained resource depletion in these systems. People are suffering." Second Overseer Thalia interjected, her skin shifting to a patronizing blue-violet. "Perhaps your primitive sensors are malfunctioning, or perhaps these are merely pirate vessels using stolen technology. The Correxian Empire does not concern itself with the squabbles of lesser worlds." Maya recognized the dismissal for what it was. The meeting was over, and she had failed, again, to make the Correxians take human concerns seriously. As she was escorted from the chamber by silent Correxian guards, Maya's hand instinctively reached for the secure communicator in her pocket. It was time for Plan B. The UEA's Phantom hung in the void of deep space, its experimental hull absorbing rather than reflecting light. To casual observation, even to most advanced scanners, it appeared to be nothing more than a small asteroid drifting through the emptiness. This was humanity's greatest secret, a battleship unlike any other in the galaxy, designed not with the brute force approach favored by the Correxians, but with stealth and cunning. Maya's shuttle approached the invisible vessel, guided by encrypted quantum signals that only the Phantom could detect. As the shuttle bay doors opened, a brief, nearly imperceptible flicker in the darkness, she felt a familiar surge of pride. This ship, this crew, represented the best of what humanity had to offer. Admiral Victor Torres was waiting for her in the briefing room, his weathered face showing the strain of recent months. At 70, he was one of the oldest active commanders in the fleet, a living legend who had guided humanity's first tentative steps into a hostile galaxy. "I take it the diplomatic approach failed," he said, not bothering with formalities. Maya nodded, dropping into a chair across from him. "The Correxians haven't changed their position. They think we're making it up, or that our technology is too primitive to identify the real culprits." Torres activated the room's holographic system, and a 3-dimensional map of Correxian space materialized between them. "Then they won't be expecting us to do this." Maya studied the map, focusing on the pulsing red marker deep within Correxian territory. "You found it." The Raven reconnaissance drones confirmed it last night, Torres said, expanding the hologram to show a massive installation hidden within an unstable nebula. It's exactly where our informant said it would be, a Class 10 matter conversion facility. They're not just stealing resources, they're converting entire moons into raw materials. Maya felt a chill run through her. For what purpose? That's what you're going to find out, Torres replied, his expression grim. The Phantom is the only ship that can get past their defensive grid undetected. We need eyes inside that facility. The Corrections claim their security is perfect, Maya said, although a smile was already forming on her lips. No one can enter or leave their territory without detection. Torres matched her smile with a wolfish grin of his own. Then it's a good thing humans excel at doing the impossible. The command center of the Phantom hummed with quiet efficiency as Maya took her place in the captain's chair. Around her, the elite crew, just 200 men and women, compared to the thousands that staffed a traditional battleship, worked at their stations. What they lacked in numbers, they made up for in skill and determination. Lieutenant Commander Raj Patel, her second in command, and the ship's tactical officer, approached with a data tablet. All systems are nominal, Commander. Stealth systems at maximum efficiency. We're invisible to everything except a direct visual, which won't happen in the nebula, Maya noted, reviewing the mission parameters. How's the crew? Ready, Raj said simply. They know what's at stake. Maya nodded. The stakes couldn't be higher. If they were right about what the Corrections were building, the entire balance of power in the galaxy could shift. Dozens of worlds, including Earth, could find themselves under immediate threat. Navigator, plot a course through the Hadron Drift, she ordered. Minimal power signatures until we're clear of the border monitors. Course plotted, Commander, replied the navigator, a young woman named Sarah Kim. Estimated transit time to the nebula: 4 days, 7 hours. Maya addressed the bridge crew, her voice steady and confident. This mission is classified beyond top secret. If we're detected, the official position of Earth Command will be that we've gone rogue. There will be no rescue, no acknowledgement, no support. She paused, looking at each face in turn. But if we succeed, we'll have saved countless lives, including those of the Corrections, who have no idea what their leaders are risking. Any questions? Silence answered her. These were professionals who understood the mission and its importance. Then let's make history, Maya said. Engage stealth systems and proceed at 1/4 power. As the Phantom slipped silently into the darkness, Maya felt the weight of responsibility settle over her. The Corrections thought themselves untouchable, protected by technology so advanced that no one would dare challenge them. They were about to learn how dangerous it was to underestimate humanity. The journey to the heart of Correction space was tense but uneventful. The Phantom's revolutionary stealth systems, the product of 2 decades of research and development, performed flawlessly. They passed through the much-vaunted Correction border defenses without triggering a single alarm, confirming what Maya had long suspected. For all their technological advancement, the Corrections had a blind spot. They were so convinced of their superiority that they never considered someone might develop technology specifically designed to counter theirs. As they approached the unstable nebula that concealed the secret Correction facility, Maya called her senior officers to the tactical room. The holographic display showed the swirling gases and radiation that made the nebula dangerous to conventional ships. This is our biggest challenge, she explained, gesturing to the simulation. The nebula's radiation will interfere with our stealth systems. We'll need to stay within these corridors of relatively stable space to remain undetected. Dr. Eleanor Wright, the ship's chief scientist, pointed to several fluctuating areas. These plasma storms are unpredictable. If one forms while we're inside, we could be exposed. That's why we're not staying long, Maya replied. This is a reconnaissance mission. We get in, we confirm what they're building, we document it, and we get out. If possible, We'll plant surveillance devices that can transmit data after we've gone. Chief Engineer Marcus Chen, no relation to Maya despite the shared surname, cleared his throat. Commander, the stealth systems weren't designed to operate in this kind of environment. I can guarantee 8 hours of full invisibility, but after that, the radiation will start causing cascade failures. 8 hours will have to be enough, Maya said firmly. Navigator, have you plotted our approach? Sarah nodded. Yes, Commander. I've identified 3 potential paths through the nebula that should minimize our exposure. Good. We'll proceed with Path Alpha unless conditions force us to adapt. Maya looked around the table. We launch in 3 hours. Final equipment checks and battle stations. Dismissed. As the officers filed out, Admiral Torres remained behind. You know what you'll have to do if you confirm our suspicions, he said quietly. Maya met his gaze. The Phantom is armed with Nova-class warheads. If they're building what we think they are, we'll have no choice but to destroy the facility. The Corrections will consider it an act of war, Torres warned. It already is a war, Maya replied. They just haven't told anyone else yet. The nebula engulfed the Phantom like a living thing, wisps of glowing gas sliding across the view screens as the ship navigated the treacherous environment. The main lights had been dimmed to preserve power for the stealth systems, leaving the bridge bathed in an eerie blue glow. Radiation levels rising, reported Dr. Wright from the science station, still within tolerable parameters for the stealth field. Maya nodded, her eyes fixed on the main display. Distance to target. Approximately 300,000 kilometers, Sarah replied. We should have visual confirmation in 17 minutes. Those 17 minutes felt like an eternity. Every officer on the bridge was acutely aware that they were deeper into Coraxian territory than any non-Coraxian vessel had ever penetrated. If they were discovered, they would be labeled spies at best, terrorists at worst. Visual range achieved, announced Raj, his voice tight with tension. Putting it on screen now. The main display flickered, then showed a structure so vast it defied comprehension. Dozens of interconnected platforms surrounded what appeared to be a partially completed sphere of immense proportions. Coraxian ships and construction drones swarmed around it like insects, adding new sections even as they washed. My God, whispered Dr. Wright. It's a Dyson swarm. They're building a miniature Dyson swarm around an artificial neutron star. Maya felt her blood run cold. A Dyson swarm, a collection of satellites designed to capture the energy output of a star, was theoretical technology for most races. That the Coraxians had not only mastered it but were implementing it in secret was alarming enough. That they had somehow created or transported a neutron star to power it was terrifying. Scan for weapon signatures, she ordered. Raj's hands flew over his console. I'm detecting massive power conduits consistent with directed energy weapons. This isn't just an energy collection facility. It's a weapon platform. Capable of what? Maya asked, though she suspected she already knew the answer. Dr. Wright looked up from her readings, her face pale. If they can focus the energy output of that neutron star through those conduits, they could destroy a planet from across the galaxy. No conventional defenses could stop it. The implications were clear. With this weapon, the Coraxians could hold the entire galaxy hostage. Any world that defied them could be obliterated without warning, without the Coraxians ever having to send a single ship or soldier. They've been stealing resources to build this, Maya said grimly. And once it's operational, they won't need to steal anymore. They'll simply take what they want, and no one will dare refuse them. We need to document everything, Torres said. Every detail, every specification. The Galactic Council needs to see this. Maya nodded. Begin full spectrum analysis. I want every byte of data we can gather, and prepare the Nova warheads. If we get a clear shot, we're taking this abomination out. As the Phantom silently observed the massive construction project, Maya couldn't help but think of the Coraxian overseer's dismissive violet skin tone. They had been so certain of their superiority, so convinced that their secrets were safe. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The emergency. The data collection progressed rapidly, the Phantom's advanced sensors recording every detail of the Coraxian superweapon. Dr. Wright coordinated the scientific analysis, her team working in shifts to process the enormous amount of information. "We've confirmed the weapon's capabilities," she reported grimly. "It's even worse than we thought. The energy output would be sufficient to not only destroy a planet, but to potentially destabilize an entire star system." Maya processed this information with growing alarm. "How close are they to completion?" "Based on the current construction rate and what we can observe of their progress, 3 months, maybe less." "Then we don't have much time," Maya said. "Chief Engineer, what's the status of our stealth systems?" Marcus checked his readings. "Degrading faster than anticipated, Commander. The radiation is interfering with the absorption matrices. I estimate 4 hours before we start becoming visible to Coraxian sensors." Maya nodded. "Then we need to act now." "Tactical. What's our best firing position for the Nova warheads?" Raj studied the holographic display. "There's a gap in their construction pattern here," he said, highlighting a section of the massive structure. "If we can position ourselves within 50,000 kilometers and launch a synchronized salvo, we might be able to trigger a chain reaction in their power core." "Might?" Torres questioned. "The structure is heavily shielded," Raj explained. "And there are at least 30 Coraxian warships in the vicinity. Even with our stealth technology, launching weapons will give away our position immediately." Maya considered their options. The Nova warheads were humanity's most powerful weapons, miniaturized antimatter devices capable of unleashing devastating energy. But they had limited range, and once launched, the Phantom would be exposed. "We need a diversion," she decided. "Something to draw their attention away from our position when we launch." Dr. Wright looked up suddenly. The nebula itself could provide that diversion. "There's an unusually dense pocket of ionized gas approximately 200,000 kilometers from here. If we could detonate a small charge there, the resulting plasma storm would force them to redirect their security vessels." "Can we trigger such a reaction without revealing ourselves?" Maya asked. Marcus nodded slowly. "We could modify one of our sensor probes with a timed detonator. It wouldn't have a significant energy signature until it actually exploded." "Do it," Maya ordered. "We'll position ourselves for the attack run, launch the probe, and when the diversion draws off their security, we'll strike." The plan was swiftly put into action. The Phantom maneuvered silently through the nebula while the engineering team modified a probe. Within an hour, they were in position. "Probe is ready for launch," Marcus reported. "Deploy it," Maya commanded. "Set detonation for 30 minutes from now." The probe slipped away from the Phantom, a tiny object easily mistaken for nebula debris. As it disappeared into the swirling gases, Maya turned her attention to their primary target. "Final weapons check," she ordered. "I want all Nova warheads prepped and ready. We'll only get one shot at this." The next 30 minutes passed in tense silence. Every crew member knew what was at stake. If they succeeded, they would save countless lives across the galaxy. If they failed, they would likely die here, unknown and unremembered. The probe's detonation, when it came, was spectacular. A brilliant flash of energy rippled through the nebula, igniting the ionized gas into a churning storm of plasma and radiation. Alarms immediately sounded throughout the Coraxian construction site. "They're responding," Raj reported, watching the sensor readings. "Multiple vessels breaking off to investigate the disturbance." "How many stayed behind?" Maya asked. 12 warships remained in defensive positions around the weapon. Maya nodded. It wasn't ideal, but it was better than facing the full security fleet. "Take us in. Prepare to drop stealth and launch warheads on my mark." The Phantom moved closer to its target, invisible against the backdrop of the nebula. At 50,000 kilometers, optimal firing range for the Nova warheads, Maya gave the command they had all been waiting for. "Disengage stealth systems. Power to weapons and shields. Fire all Nova warheads at the designated target. The Phantom shimmered into visibility as its stealth field collapsed, immediately redirecting that energy to its offensive and defensive systems. 6 Nova warheads streaked away from the ship, their antimatter cores contained within magnetic fields until the moment of impact. The reaction from the Coraxian defenders was instantaneous. Alarms blared across their networks as sensors detected the suddenly visible human vessel and the incoming weapons. Defense systems activated, but they had been caught entirely by surprise, something the Coraxians had believed impossible. The first Nova warhead struck the superweapon's outer shell, its antimatter core detonating with blinding force. The others followed in quick succession, each blast weakening the structure's integrity. The final warhead penetrated deep inside the weapon platform, reaching the artificial neutron star's containment system. The resulting explosion was beyond anything the Phantom's crew had anticipated. The neutron star's containment failed catastrophically, releasing energy on a scale that human scientists had only theorized about. The superweapon didn't merely break apart. It disintegrated, the blast wave spreading outward to engulf the nearby Coraxian vessels. Evasive maneuvers, Maya shouted as the energy wave approached their position. Maximum thrust. The Phantom's engines roared to life, pushing the ship to its structural limits as it raced to escape the destruction it had unleashed. The shockwave caught them despite their speed, sending the battleship tumbling through space. Hull breaches on decks 4 through 7, reported the damage control officer. Emergency containment fields holding. Stabilize our course, Maya ordered, gripping her chair as the ship shuddered around them. What's the status of the Coraxian fleet? Raj, working furiously at his damaged console, looked up in amazement. They're gone, Commander. The blast destroyed all vessels within 100,000 kilometers of the weapon platform. A stunned silence fell over the bridge. No one had expected such complete destruction. The Coraxian superweapon was obliterated, along with a significant portion of their defense fleet. But they had also unleashed forces that had nearly destroyed the Phantom itself. Get us out of here, Maya said quietly. Set course for the galactic rim. We need to clear Coraxian space before they can regroup. As the Phantom limped away from the devastation, emergency repairs underway throughout the ship, Maya knew that everything had changed. The Coraxian secret was exposed, their invincibility shattered. But the consequences would be severe. Send the data package to Earth Command, she instructed the communications officer, and prepare a broadcast for the Galactic Council. They need to know what the Coraxians were planning, and what we've done to stop it. The aftermath unfolded more dramatically than anyone could have predicted. The destruction of the superweapon created a quantum disturbance visible from thousands of light-years away, drawing the immediate attention of the Galactic Council. When the Phantom's data package arrived, providing irrefutable evidence of the Coraxian plot, the political landscape of the galaxy shifted overnight. The Coraxian Empire, confronted with proof of their secret weapons program, attempted to portray themselves as victims of human aggression. But the evidence was too compelling, and their denials too transparent. One by one, their allies distanced themselves, and former tributaries began to assert their independence. 3 weeks after the destruction of the superweapon, Maya Chen stood once again before the Coraxian High Command. But this time, in the Galactic Council's central chamber, with representatives from 100 worlds in attendance. First Overseer Xerax's skin no longer displayed the patronizing violet of superiority. Instead, it had faded to a pale blue of shock and disbelief. The actions of the human vessel constitute an unprovoked act of war, he insisted, his voice lacking its former confidence. The evidence suggests otherwise, replied the Xylarian arbiter, the Council's highest judicial authority. The weapon you were constructing violated 17 separate provisions of the Galactic Accord. The humans merely prevented a greater atrocity. Maya stepped forward, her voice clear and unwavering. The United Earth Fleet acted to protect not only our worlds but all worlds, including those of the Coraxian people. We have no desire for war or conquest, but we will not stand idle while any power threatens the peace of the galaxy. The council chamber erupted in approving murmurs. Many species that had once dismissed humans as primitive newcomers now looked at them with new respect, and perhaps a hint of fear. In the months that followed, the balance of power shifted dramatically. The Corexian Empire was forced to open its borders and submit to regular inspections. Treaties were rewritten, trade agreements renegotiated, and humanity, once considered an insignificant player in galactic politics, found itself elevated to a position of unexpected influence. The Phantom became a symbol of this new era, proof that determination and ingenuity could overcome even the most formidable advantages of technology and tradition. Other races began to study human methods and adaptability, recognizing that there was more than one path to advancement. For Maya Chen, the most satisfying moment came 6 months after the mission, when she was invited to the inaugural meeting of the Galactic Defense Coalition, a new body created to prevent any single power from threatening galactic stability. As she entered the chamber, she noticed something remarkable. The Corexian representative's skin had shifted to a new color, one she had never seen before. It was the deep green of respect. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. No empire was untouchable, no defense impenetrable, when faced with the resourcefulness and courage of humanity. The species that many had dismissed as too young and too primitive had proven that innovation and determination could overcome any obstacle. And when the next threat emerged, as it inevitably would, humanity would be ready once again, standing alongside allies who had learned not to underestimate the remarkable potential of the galaxy's newest arrivals.